Hello everyone. After looking into the different intercultural theories, I learned some new information. The two intercultural theories that I'm going to be covering today are social identity theory and Hofstede's cultural dimensions. Looking at the social identity theory, the ethical question I'm going to be covering and answering today is it acceptable for public schools to have private social events only open to high financial donors? And looking at Hofstede's cultural dimensions, the ethical question I'm going to be answering today is Hofstede's model too simple and few to differentiate the diversity in cultures in a country? Getting into the social identity theory, I had to do some research because I wasn't too sure about this topic. Social identity theory helps comprehend interpersonal communication by one's status within a culture. When someone is looking at their status within a group, they look at relativity, the stability, and the ability to move. In the social identity theory, there are two subgroups. The first subgroup is social categorization and social identification. In this subgroup, humans tend to categorize objects, nature, and other humans. As humans, we just want to understand. Wanting to understand makes us rank ourselves, which has to do with self-identity and status. In society today, we are constantly comparing ourselves to others due to the fact that we have social media and other societal factors. The second subgroup is social comparison. In this subgroup, humans categorize and identify with certain groups. If we compare good with a group, then we're going to feel good about ourselves, but when two groups are rivals, they have to compete with each other. People will compete for jobs or even for their own identities. Now, looking back at the ethical question, is it acceptable for public schools to have private social events only open to high financial donors? I believe that yes, it is okay for public schools to hold these private social events because schools do need money. Even if they have to exclude some people, I don't think that this is an ethical problem. The reason I chose this intercultural theory was because as a person, I compare myself as well. Getting into Hofstede's cultural dimensions, I started with power distance. Power distance is the strength of societal social hierarchy. Looking at the United States, the U.S. has a low power distance because we believe liberty and justice for all. The second social dimension I looked at was individualism versus collectivism. Individualism is based on moral stance, political philosophy, ideology, and social outlook. Collectivism is based on the value of people working together. Looking at the United States is more individualism because people tend to want to work by themselves and take the credit. The third dimension I looked at was masculinity and femininity. Masculinity is seen as being tougher, while femininity, on the other hand, is seen as being softer. Looking at the United States, the U.S. tends to be more masculine because usually men are seen as higher than women in the workplace and in other parts of society. The next dimension I looked at was uncertainty avoidance index. Uncertainty avoidance is how cultures differ on the amount of tolerance they have of unpredictability. Looking at the United States is more tolerant. The fifth dimension I looked at was long versus short-term orientation. Long-term orientation is focused more on the future, while short-term orientation is focused on the present and the past. Looking at the United States, the U.S. is more in between long and short-term orientation. The last dimension I looked at was indulgence versus restraint. Indulgence is more about enjoying life and having fun, while restraint is holding yourself back. Looking at the United States, the U.S. is more indulgent because people tend to overdo things when it comes to food, shopping, and most other things. Now, looking back at the ethical question, is Hofstede's model too simple and few to differentiate the diversity of cultures in a country? I believe that no. It's also helpful in identifying models to different countries in a basic way, so it's not super expansive, but it's a good start. The reason I chose this intercultural theory was because I can relate to all these because I am a person and everyone can relate to these. In conclusion, intercultural theories can be beneficial in understanding each other, and being able to understand each other makes it easier to work with people in such a positive way. Thank you.